Illinois has a $3.5 million campaign to tell gun owners to store their firearms safely, but the campaign hasn't started yet. Meanwhile, you've got the Brady campaign, a gun control group that is funding an ad campaign to talk about the state's firearm restraining order laws. Well, this is obviously sparking some conversation about where we're at in the totality of gun control and even litigation against gun control laws in the state of Illinois and elsewhere. Welcome back. I'm Greg Bishop, hanging out with you. You can also like, subscribe, and follow me on X, Facebook, and YouTube, Rumble. Just find me really anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air, and we can make it happen, all right? But last week, the Illinois State House in session, tons of stuff for us to talk about, from legislation that's being filed and advancing to even the conversations on how your tax dollars are used. Well, the Illinois Department of Public Health was in front of the House committee, and they were discussing different types of funding for Illinois public health and the department that oversees the state's public health and the coordination they have with counties across the state, especially in Cook County, where you've got cases of measles that are being reported in migrant shelters, and now cases of tuberculosis that are being reported, though they're said to be isolated, at least last week. I haven't seen the most recent numbers. But you did have a question that was posed to the Department of Public Health Director, Samir Vorha, and the doctor, he was asked about gun control and what kinds of gun violence prevention measures is the Illinois Department of Public Health researching. And clearly this is something that we reported on at thecentersquare.com. But Vorha said that they're looking at, violence prevention in many different spaces, from suicide to other violence that may occur, some of the statistics behind it, some of the things they can do to intervene and such. But then you had questions asked about the Pause to Heal campaign, which is a campaign we addressed last week with a video, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But the state of Illinois teaming up with the Brady campaign to put out their public messaging talking about how the state of Illinois has a firearms restraining order law, essentially known as a red flag law, right? You get somebody who could be a harm to themselves or others. You want to make sure that they don't use firearms against themselves or others, and you tell a court that this individual is a threat to themselves or others. The court issues a firearms restraining order, and then that individual has to give those guns to somebody else. Now, we've talked about the efforts to change the law to require police to confiscate those firearms. That has not advanced at the State House. Right now, we have a firearm restraining order that can be issued by a court where the individual has to give their firearms to somebody else who can take those firearms. It could be police, but it doesn't have to be police. Regardless, the campaign, the public campaign that's funded by the Brady campaign, I'm told at this point, this first phase, the Brady campaign, a gun control group, is funding this, but it's in coordination with the Illinois Department of Public Health. But at the same time, you've got IDPH talking about how they're putting resources and individuals into studying, at least responding to a question from a state legislator, gun violence, and talking about prevention and statistics and evaluation, and even using various types of researchers to look at the root causes of some of this violent crime that's happening. But you do have also, while the Firearm Restraining Order Act is being promoted with a public awareness campaign, a public relations campaign even, you've got the state looking into researching quote-unquote gun violence. But what about the $3.5 million safe storage campaign that was approved last year? I remember this clearly, reporting on it with former state representative Kathleen Willis. She was adamant on trying to get a PR campaign funded by tax dollars to tell gun owners to lock up their firearms and to use a gun lock, especially when it comes to having guns in homes where children may be. For gun owners out there, you're very familiar with the types of gun locks that there are. You've got the ones that can go through the barrel, and it's really just makes it a non-functioning firearm. And then you get a key, and it's a really tiny key, and you got to remember where you put that thing. But it's safe gun storage, right? But there's also an effort to tell people that they have to have a firearm in a safe, right? I'm sure you guys who are firearm owners have your safes. Probably you've got multiple, right? You've got ones for your shotguns, ones for your rifles. You've got smaller ones for your handguns. You may even have one of those biometric safes. I don't know how trustworthy they are, even with safes that have some kind of, digital pad on it. How trusting are you that safe is going to work when you need it? To get into it. I'm not talking about keeping people. I'm talking about getting into it, right? So the Safe Gun campaign, you had the public health director being asked about that. Where's that at, right? And he said that they haven't gotten to it yet. Even though the money was approved last year, $3.5 million, they have yet to get to it. So what's going on with these funds? I asked State Representative Blaine Willhauer about this, and here's what his response was. To the question of, is this something that Illinoisans need, is a safe storage public awareness campaign?
Well, the gun owners in my district, these folks have no business lecturing gun owners on gun safety. The folks in my district that own firearms are very, very well apprised of the safety issues on this kind of stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of other things in the state of Illinois that we could be spending money on. Our economy is falling apart. We've got all kinds of crises going on here. So, no, I don't think that's a good expenditure, and it's completely unnecessary. The more that we can keep the Democrats away from gun issues, the better off the people in the state of Illinois are going to be, for sure.
Well, and Willhauer also talked about how the funds that are used to investigate violence from the Department of Public Health, they could be used elsewhere as well, because there's already a lot of people investigating violence across the state when it comes to prosecutors and such. So interesting to hear that back and forth when it comes to the gun safe storage campaign, not quite off the ground. So you may see more about that in the future. While I've got you on the issue of firearms, the latest in litigation against gun laws in Illinois, we've got April 11th being a status conference in the Southern District of Illinois federal courts, where Judge Stephen McGlynn will be hearing from litigants about what the next steps are. It's clearly that Judge Stephen McGlynn, in the case challenging Illinois' gun ban, that he's moving forward with it. All right, we're going to see a lot of movement and some hearings coming up in the weeks and months ahead, and hopefully we can get down there and keep track of that for you, because I know a ton of people are interested in what's going to happen there. But then you have the case in front of the Illinois Supreme Court, that Piasaw Armory versus Kwame Raoul, which deals with challenging the state's firearm industry liability law, but this includes the challenge of the state's law that tells you can only sue the state in Cook or Sangamon County if you challenge a state law as unconstitutional. Well, if you look at the filings here, of course, last month, you had this Madison County Circuit Court order declaring that the law limiting where people can file lawsuits is unconstitutional. Then you had the cross appeal, and the motion to dismiss was filed earlier this month by the state. And let's go ahead and pull that document up and just take a look here together as we learn all of the legal ins and outs. But defendant appellant Kwame Raoul, in his official capacity as Attorney General of Illinois, hereby moves to dismiss plaintiff's cross appeal for lack of jurisdiction. This appeal rises under Rule 304A, which authorizes an interlocutory appeal from a final judgment as to one or more but fewer than all of the parties' claims. But the decision below does not reflect any final judgment adverse to plaintiff on any claim, much less any claim advancing in three readings theory that plaintiff wished to press, and so plaintiff's cross appeal should be dismissed. Alternatively, at a minimum, the courts should clarify that briefings in the appeal will proceed under rule this, rule that, and the three readings theory plaintiff seeks to advance is at most an alternative basis for affirmance, not a request to relief denied below. And so no cross appeal is necessary to advance. So we've heard this challenge of the state's three readings rule before, and this gets really convoluted, right? I mean, this case started about gun industry liability, challenging the state's law. But the state tried to move the case from Madison County to Sangamon County. So then the plaintiffs that brought the case said, no, that is unconstitutional. You can't limit the venues. So now you've got this other issue coming involved here with about the three readings rule and whether or not, the law was brought up with, three readings. You got to read it first into the House chamber, goes into a committee, it moves out of committee, and then it gets read back into the House chamber a second time. And then on the third time, that's when it's read again, and they debate and they vote on it. And then it goes to the next chamber and so on. So you get into the weeds when you start talking about all this legal stuff. So hopefully that helps you kind of keep it straight. But regardless, the state's asking for them to dismiss that. And then you have the instanter, don't even know what that is, but a motion to leave to file a docketing statement. You've got the plaintiff's attorney here recognizing that they had an oversight and they wish to file their docketed statement and they hope that no prejudice and so on. Some timing of all of this, of course, having to run its course, and you have to hit those deadlines. So that's some of the latest on when it comes to the case in front of the Illinois Supreme Court and the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court. But next month, we are going to see some movement in this case challenging Illinois' FOID card, and that is, I believe, Myers v. Kelly. And again, this case is in the Southern District of Illinois. I'm just pulling up the docket sheet so we can take a look at this together. But the case Myers v. Kelly challenging the FOID card law, and this one is going to be interesting to watch play out as well, as you've got scheduling and discovery due by May 31st. All right, so this one is that date's coming up as well. So a lot of moving pieces here, but clearly stick with it. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with Bishop on Air, and we'll do what we can to keep you updated, all right? So make it happen. You can email me, bishoponair@gmail.com. If you call a phone number that you might have for me, leave a message. I'll do what I can to get to it, or you can send me a text as well. Definitely want to make sure you guys are able to reach out and provide me news tips and whatnot. Very good stuff, but sometimes, hey, I'm... as the voicemail says, I'm either on the air, on the other line, or I am off the grid. So, seriously, that's what my voicemail says. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be back with more, as always, with Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out.